Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Chee. I'm a pediatric palliative care specialist from Malaysia. Welcome you all for coming to our this second of a fellowship of pediatric palliative care, virtual learning together online, where it's a co-host by the APHN and also the special interest group in Singapore. So today we are very lucky to have a special guest here to talk about this mind transition and transformation for parents who experience a child loss. Actually, sorry. Anand, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Welcome everyone to our second this virtual online fellowship of palliative care sharing session, and we have these sessions every 2 months. So this is the activity organized by APHN together with the special interest group from Singapore, and we are proud today to have our special guest. We have Mr. Brandon Ho to come and talk to us about mind transition and transformation for parents who experience a child loss. Mr. Brandon Ho is one of my good friends here who have been helping us in supporting this kind of parents who have lost their children. Mr. Brandon Ho is the expert in the hypnotherapy and also the neuro-linguistic program. He's not only the therapist, but he's also the teacher and the consultant for the whole Malaysia in this field. So he's very keen to help those children, parents who have lost a child, in order to look into how to help them to get a new life from there. So maybe you can read more of her CV later, but I think I don't want to take too much of time. I'll pass the time to Brandon to share with us. But in the meanwhile, if you have any question, we will have a few sessions of question and answer. But if you have any question, you can either type in the Zoom, I can read it out for you, or you can voice it out immediately if you want. All right, Brandon, I pass the time to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee. Thank you. It's an honor for me to be here to do this sharing. I'm very, very pleased to be able to do this because, a lot of times when we talk about death, death is a taboo. So it's normal for people to experience death of their elders, of the parents, of their grandparents. But when it is the other way around, society simply does not prepare the people to be ready to accept the loss of the child. It is just not normal. All right. So can we take a look at the next slide where we talk about what grief is? Okay. So grief is a normal and natural emotional reaction to loss or change of any kind. That means it's normal. Some people feel that, when there's a death, if I grieve, would that be good? Would that be normal? Is it acceptable by society for me to grieve? Is there any special way for me to grieve, or is there a time period for grief to take place? Well, based on my work and then based on my understanding, I think everybody experiences grief in a different way. So if someone comes to me and say, I've lost a child, is this normal for me to grieve? And I'll tell the person, it is absolutely normal for you to feel what you're feeling now. Okay, we can't tell you what's right, what's wrong, how to grieve. Society might dictate, but society doesn't understand the grief that the person is feeling. So, and then going further, of itself, grief is neither a pathological condition. That means it's not a disease, it's not a sickness, neither is it a personality disorder. Let's put it in simple terms. Grief basically means that you have lost something, and to feel sad over the loss is normal. For example, you have a pet. Okay, it could be a goldfish, it could be a dog, it could be a cat, it could be anything. And the loss, you've been living together with that pet for some time. And when that pet is no longer there with you, life is not the same because you're so used to having that identity with you. But now when it is not there, people are at a loss. They do not know how they should react to this new lifestyle. I would say, moving on will be going into a new lifestyle. Hanging on to the past okay, would not allow the person to move forward. That's why for me, I think that, it is important for them to see, okay, grieving as a different methodology, grief as a way of letting go and going into the future, right? So let me start, okay, the next one by talking about a case study, all right? So this case study is about a mother, okay, whose child passed away due to an inborn brain abnormality. The baby was 8 months old when he passed on. During this period, they have been in and out of the hospital, and finally, after 8 months, he passed on. So even before the baby passed on, there were actually symptoms, okay, symptoms like anger, especially family members. You know, when something big like this happens, family members who want the best for the child and also who want the best for everybody, but everybody has their own opinion as to what is the best thing to do. All right, so they are all focusing on the child, and sometimes the parents get neglected. In fact, the parents should be the main person in this whole happening. But the focus is all on the child. And when everybody's focusing on the child, when the child is gone, there is this huge vacuum, this huge empty space that nobody knows how to fill. And at the same time, the mother or the father or whoever, the parents of the child or the guardian of the child will feel that, did I do something wrong? What did I do? What is the mistake that I've done to cause this child to leave us so early? No matter how much they were prepared for it, the shock of a death is always very overwhelming. So she was referred to me after the death of a child, and at that time, her presenting symptoms were anger. She gets irritated very easily. She gets emotional, and when people talk about things about her son, all right, she would get angry. She would be very defensive, all right, and she doesn't know why, and she knows this is actually breaking the relationship between her family. Her family was a very close bond, but this was very difficult for them. And then when she was referred to me, the first session I met her, we had we met her for 2 hours just to talk about what is happening. And then when the day came for her to came for therapy, we went through 3 hours of hypnotherapy in the office. And during that time, a lot of issues were being brought up. Some of these were related directly to the child passing, while others are actually about unfulfilled childhood dreams which she had. And because of the child, she is putting all these unfulfilled dreams behind. And when the child passes, she wants to take back what she loves to do and to do it. But then again, they be saying that, your child has just passed. You shouldn't do this. Why are you focusing on that? Some of the more hurtful things that people say to her, they say, it is exactly what you are doing now that caused your child to be away, which I think is very, very unfair for the mother. A lot of times they're focusing on the child, not focusing on the mother. And the mother is the victim, the silent victim of all these things. We spoke, we talked, okay, and then she expressed what was her feeling inside of her. And then I asked her, we can't change the fact that the child is no longer here, but we can definitely change how you want to live your life beyond your child's passing. Tell me now, what do you want? So during the discussion, the outcome was that she wants to understand the reason for a change in behavior. Why is she behaving like that? She is never like that. Her relationship with her parents were very polite and very respectful, but now everything seems to change. And then she wants to learn how to manage her emotion better and to build the relationship with her family. In her case, her husband, okay, was actually in the therapy together, but on a different session, where both of them have their own concern about that. So after the therapy, we talk about issues. We help her to see things differently. We help her to see that her son's passing, okay, even though unfortunate, it is not something that she has to take responsible for. Maybe in the higher power, maybe God, okay? If we talk about, the higher belief and higher power and all these things, different people have different beliefs. So The belief is that maybe the child comes here to teach her a particular lesson that she needs to learn. And when the lesson is taught, maybe it is time for the child to move on. So that is one of the metaphors that we use. Every time when I see cases like this, I'll tell them, what is the good thing that you have benefited from the presence of this child, no matter how short it is? What is the lesson that you would have learned? By allowing them to focus on the lesson and on the benefits brought by the child, it is always easier, than focusing on the loss of the child. Rather to focus on the future rather than focusing on the past. All right. Okay. Then the next slide, please. So,
Sorry,
okay, thank you.
something here.
Okay, we are.
This is the one?
Yes, this is the one. Thank you, Dr. Lee. Okay, so when we talk about grief, what are symptoms of grief? So according to the American Psychiatric Association, in 2002, they came up with this list here, with this 9 lists. They said, anytime when this grief happens within the 2 months, okay, with a significant change in this is considered as symptoms of grief. Okay, let's just go through this. All right, depressed mood, of course, then diminished moods, interest, or pleasure. They, when they are given the opportunity to do something good for themselves, they will reject that idea because they think they don't deserve pleasure. They don't deserve the life they are living now. And then the next one will be significant weight loss or gain. I have a mother who lost a lot of weight after the child passes on. All right, because she couldn't eat. And then her husband, on the other hand, had a significant weight gain. All right. Okay. Then some people, they were insomnia, they can't sleep. Well, other people, they tend to sleep a lot. And then they tend to be tired all the time. For me, I would see the hypersomnia as a way of escape. When they are asleep, they can escape from the real world. They do not need to know, they do not need to care about what the world is happening. So they spend a lot of time sleeping. All right. And sometimes it is not they spend a lot of time sleeping, they will choose to sleep during the daytime where there are people around, and during the night they'll wake up when they're alone because the interaction with people is minimal at that stage. And the next one will be psychomotor agitation and retardation. Sometimes they get agitated very easily. Sometimes they don't feel like moving. They're always tired, like fatigue, loss of energy, okay? Feeling of worthlessness and inappropriate guilt. This is very, very common. They will think that I'm not worthy to be a mother. I'm not worthy to be a father. It is like saying that the child's death is a direct consequence on their action, which is not true, which is something that we need to work on and tell them, hey, it is not that. They may have the best doctors, they may have the best medication, they may have the best environment for this child, but if the child, is not meant to survive, then there is a reason why the child should leave. Okay, diminished concentration and indecision, that's also very normal. They can't focus. And the next one is actually very big. It's recurrent thought of death or suicidal inclination. Now, it's not like saying that, oh, I feel so bad, I want to die. They do have a plan on how to take their own lives. They would think that, okay, I'm going to hang myself. I'm going to jump off the building. I'm going to take sleeping pills. They have a plan. A lot of times when they have this kind of thoughts, they don't even, they are still very caring. I have somebody who told me that she wanted to die. And then she told me that she did cut her wrist. She cut it so deep, but fortunately she didn't die. And I asked her, where were you when you cut your wrist? I would have expected she would tell me that she would go into her room, she will hide in a room, lock her room and do that. And she said, no, I was in the car park. I said, why are you in the car park? Because they said, we live in a rented property. If I'm to die in that rented property, it will create a lot of mess. And then the landlord would find it very difficult to rent the property out if someone knows somebody died in that property. I said, wow. You are thinking of ending your life, and yet you are still so considerate to think about the consequences of your death. Can you imagine? They really do plan it out. It is not the spur of the moment, let's die. It's not that. Okay, so these are some of the symptoms of grief. And symptoms like this can appear even before the child passes on. So later on, I'll talk about, can we do something about this before the passing of the child? Okay, that will be on the later part. Okay, can we go on to the next slide? Okay, the next slide is Q&A. Do you have any questions so far based on the things which has been, talked about?
And then you were saying the mother was very angry. Is it the anger mainly come from herself, or is from the external that stimulate her? So
Okay.
mainly from memory to the past, or what? A lot of time we really can't figure out all this anger.
Yes, sometimes the anger can be very surface, but when I talk to the client, I realized that the anger is actually unfulfilled dreams from the past. Sometimes when they have a child, they'll be thinking that, oh, I want to see my child grow up. I want to take my child swimming. I want to take my child to this and that. But when the child is not able to perform all these things, you'll be thinking, I want that. How come it's not fair? How come this opportunity is taken away from me? A lot of parents with a child, I want to see my child have a boyfriend or girlfriend. I want to see my child get married. I want to see my child have children. So these are the unfulfilled things which should have been taken to her. But when it is expressed, it is usually expressed on the surface level. They will tell you things like, I'm angry with that person because the person is talking about this. I'm angry about that person because the person is doing that. But the deeper understanding is a lot of guilt, a lot of unfulfillment. The things which she expresses outside is just the symptom of the real cause.
Yeah, I think maybe she have a lot of expectation that she cannot achieve.
Yes,
So she will very agree for that.
Correct, yes.
Anyone have any question about this case? You can just open your mic and start talking. I think we want to make it more sharing session.
Yeah,
You have the similar patient like this, you want to share? And then just now, Brandon, you were saying your second slide, your symptoms, it looks like all like depression. Sometimes you wonder when do you want to refer psychiatry for depressions? When they have a suicidal thought, But this is a bit challenging for us sometimes. But a lot of time you say their symptoms like fluctuating. Sometimes okay, sometimes not okay, sometimes okay. So it's a bit challenge for us, especially when you say this now, like even they have a suicidal plan, but they're still very considerate of other people. That's a bit different from depression people.
Yeah, depression people, they are just more focused on themselves. That's why for grief and depression, I would say is more chronic, it's long-term, it's continuous. But grief, they are sometimes capable of being very rational. And they are sometimes very capable, they can sometimes forget their grief. If something good really happens, if something exciting really happens, they can really forget about their grief and be in the moment to enjoy that. Okay, then some people after that they will feel guilty. My child has just died. I shouldn't, I shouldn't be happy. I don't deserve happiness. And this has a lot to do with, we have something called the grieving process, where society will tell you how to grieve. Society will tell you how long to grieve. Like the Chinese culture, when somebody dies, we would have to wear a badge to show that we are grieving. In the past, the badge we have to wear for about 100 days. Now in modern society, it's like, oh, okay, after the funeral, you can remove that already. So the grieving process has been reduced. So that's good and that's bad, because the good thing is that sometimes grief needs time to process. But because of modern society where we want everything to be fast and easy, so the grieving process is cut short when the body is cremated, when the body is, is that. I do not know about other cultures, but when a child passes on, the funeral ceremony is very simplified compared to an adult. It's like they're saying that a child's death is less important than the death of an adult. So therefore, the grieving process in a way is incomplete.
I think this is a Malay mother, like Malay lady.
Yes.
I think she's a very smart lady because
Mm.
as of what we know that is a grief is a mixed feeling of emotion. Like what the Elizabeth Kubler told us that you have a lot of guilt inside,
Mhm.
angry, cannot accept, denial.
Mhm.
Out of all this, I found that actually anger is the most obvious and is the one that people can accept. Then they can bring it out and discuss. So I think this patient, this mother is very brave. She just bring out, she just admit that she choose the one of the emotion that is most acceptable maybe to her culture, that I'm just angry. I'm just
Mm.
angry. I'm not sure whether other culture, like maybe in other country like Japan, is there any participant for Japan? If you're a parent who grieve, normally what are the emotion that the most obvious from them? We have Dr. Nobuyuki, is it? Yeah, we have not Dr. Nobuyuki from Japan. You want to share with us, or anyone want to share with us from your different culture? Normally, how the parent grieve in your country?
Yes, in my country, that sorry,
So can you introduce yourself first? Yeah.
my atmosphere is not good, so I will walk out. So just a moment. Okay, can you listen to me?
Yeah, we can listen to you.
We can
We
hear
can
you
hear
very
you.
well.
In my country,
Sorry, where are you from? I can't see.
no, I'm in my house, but
Which
today's
country are you from?
holiday
Sorry.
in Japan, so
Oh, in Japan. Yeah. Okay. Right. Thank you.
sorry. Oh, in my country, oh, the technology depending, so many children can save his life, but some children cannot save, so lose his lives. So I am in the clinic with an bereaved parents and talk with mother who lost the child, and they are difficult to come back to the social skills, because many mother work uh, at the office, but many office workers cannot understand the grieving process. So some office worker talk to the mother that your child is lost. So sometimes they feel unusual condition, and they say they can. The mother say that mother cannot. I cannot understand my uh, state and status, and they cannot. They worry about to go back the social environment. That's one of my country problems. So
Yeah, I think maybe your culture is very like not really. The society not really encouraging you to be sad and grieve, so that they may have problem of facing those friends and relatives and go back to their colleague because they're not supposed to be sad. Is that what you are trying to tell us?
mhm.
Yeah. Thank you for your sharing.
Oh, thank you.
Maybe we let Brandon, is there, if no question, we'll let Brandon go on first.
Okay, all right. Can we move on to the next slide? The next slide will be on the tools that we use.
Sorry, I'm trying to move this. It's a bit slow. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. The tools that we use is that I use a combination of hypnotherapy and also NLP. Hypnotherapy is a word that comes from hypnosis, and a lot of people are very afraid of hypnosis because of movies, because of stories that people have heard about, how hypnosis can put you into sleep and take away your secret and dig up all your, the things that you've been trying to hide all your life. Well, it is not like that. Hypnosis is not where the hypnotherapist would have control over the person. We always believe all hypnosis is self-hypnosis because this is a natural process that we always go through. For example, when you're driving a car and you stop at a traffic light and you are daydreaming about what's happening, okay, or you're dreaming about what you hope to happen, and you forget that you're in a car, you forget that there are people outside of you, and you forget that the lights is red. When the lights turn green, you are still in your dream state, and cars behind you start to honk you, and then you wake up, you say, oh, I'm back in this room, I need to continue driving. So hypnosis is something like that, but we are using hypnotherapy. It's the practice of hypnosis for therapeutic purposes. It is not for fun, where they have, hypnosis show for fun. It is not like that. But the process of putting people in a hypnosis is very similar. In fact, I would say it is the same. But what is the purpose of hypnosis that we use it for? And we use it for the therapeutic structure. Why do we use hypnotherapy? Why can't we just talk to the person as if this is a normal counseling? Very simple. Because when we use hypnotherapy, we actually go into the whole brain. Our minds is divided into the conscious mind and the subconscious mind. And then somebody came up with the concept of an iceberg, where the top of the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, it is the conscious mind, and the one below is the subconscious mind, right? Because they say the subconscious mind is way bigger, which is true. So, if according to George A. Miller, every second there's 7 ± 2 bits of information coming into our system. All right, through our eyes, through our skin, through our ears, through our nose, all this information are coming in. Imagine that if we are aware of all the 7 ± 2 bits of information coming at that particular time, we would go crazy. All right, so the conscious mind will start to delete things which are irrelevant and not important to the primary function of the personal state at that particular time. So this helps us to keep our sanity. All right, so because of all these things that's happening, let's go back to the process of grief. When we are concerned about what people say, what society says, what book says, what article says, all right, we are all so lost about all these things. We get lost. That is why when we do not know how to react, the easiest way for us to show our inability to act is anger. That's why we are saying anger is the easiest thing to bring up. All right, so for hypnosis, would be like this. My clients tells me, and I personally experience hypnosis on many levels, hypnosis actually gives me the clarity of thought. It allows me to focus. Imagine, if you may, we are in a very dark room. There's no light source whatever, and that dark room will be our mind. So when we have a torchlight in our hand, when we turn on the torchlight and shine to one corner of the room, we could see that part of the room. That's what hypnotherapy does. That's what the subconscious is. Subconscious is where you are directing your focus to that particular thing. Anything else doesn't matter. So when clients come to us, it is easy for us to help them stay focused on that particular thing because we are telling them, let's point your torchlight at this particular direction just for that moment. And let's work on that. So they are not distracted by all the other things that's happening around them. All right. And the next part of the tool in our toolbox will be NLP. That will be the neuro-linguistic programming. Now, neuro-linguistic programming talks a lot about language. How we define a certain word would determine how we react to it. If one day you wake up in the morning and you say, I feel angry, your behavior will be centered around the word anger, and all the behaviors and actions that you do will be related to anger, right? But if you change up that morning, it says, oh, I'm feeling a little tired, but I'm excited to do this particular thing. And then your brain will be thinking, oh, this person is excited. Let's do things which is related to excitement. Very simple. I believe all of us would feel anxiety or nervousness. If we are going to go on stage and give a public presentation, you know there'll be a lot of experts from all over the world listening to you speak. And the person is like telling you, okay, and you are telling yourself, I'm so nervous. I'm so nervous. I do not know what to say because, you know, my heart is beating so quickly. My hands are shaking. I have, you know, I feel cold in my hands and my legs. Okay, and then my throat is feeling dry. Let me ask you a very simple question. When you're excited, when you're exhilarated, don't your heart beat a little faster? Don't your hands shake a little? Don't you also feel that there is thirst, there's dryness in your throat? It's exactly the same thing. But because of the language we use to define that, that changes how we react to whatever happens next. All right, so this will be the tools that we use for that. Okay, can we move on to the next slide? Okay, so yeah, we're going to the next slide. Okay, thank you, Dr. Lee. Okay, so how do they work together? So the hypnotherapy part allows the patients to focus on the task at hand, but from outside distractions. And then the NLP allows the patient to change the meaning of the event. Okay, that's one part. Because rather than saying that I have lost my child, we could say that my child has given this in life. Even though my child is no longer here with me, but my child has given me in life, and I am leaving my eyes. I'm allowing my child to see the world, to hear the world, to experience the world through my eyes, through my ears, through my body. It gives you a better focus in life. Rather than saying, when my child dies, that's the end of me, I die too. No, you carry on living your child's life through you. All right. And the next part of NLP, this is also very important. Just now, Dr. Yotani from Japan was telling us that, you know, when they go back, they do not know how to react. Okay, they do not know how to react in the workplace. That's why they feel neglected from society. NLP also help the patient to learn adaptive strategies. Rather than feeling anger, what is a better behavior for them to do? What is something they can do better? All right, so that would depend on the environment and the society in which the patient comes from. If there is certain expectations from society about that, we can help them to assimilate back into that, but at the same time, to help them show society and to educate society that, you know, this is normal too. The patient the case study which we were talking about just now, she has her own Facebook group, she has her own videos where she talks about experiences, her own experiences, and she's trying to educate and show the world that this is normal. All right. I was on her with a Skype session a few nights ago, and she told me that, she said, you know, she has a friend who has just lost a child, and she doesn't know how to grieve. So our patient here started posting videos and writing articles about her own experience. And she told me that she was very upset when a close family member says, hey, get on with it. Your child passed a long time ago. Why are you still writing about this? Why are you still making videos about this? And she was so sad, she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't know what to react. I tell her, you are doing something very important. You are helping society understand things that they have no way of understanding. I said, you are not a grieving mother, but you are a mentor. You are an idol for all those people out there who need someone to look up to. See, we have helped the patient to change her identity as a grieving mother into a person who is sharing and guiding and helping other people. Okay, let's move on to the next one. before we can start work with the client, with the patient, we need to get their permission. We need to ask them, can I have your permission to talk to you? Can I have your permission to understand you better? You know, sometimes when, you know, patient comes to me not because they come to me because someone asked them to come to me. We do not have their permission. They can be there sitting for 3 hours. They would not tell us a single thing. Why? Because they are not trusting us enough and they are not ready. You know, grieving might sound like a very negative word, or sometimes in the feeling down might sound like a very bad word. But haven't there been times when you feel that I'm down and this feels good? All right. So, you know, sometimes it's okay for us, you know, to feel good about not feeling good, if that does make sense. All right. And then the next one, to get the patient to really buy in, to get the patient really willing to go onto the journey of their discovery and recovery, we would pose to them this very important question. What are you willing to give up? There must be a price to pay for everything. Go out for lunch, you need to pay for it. The price is the money that you're willing to give up. We will be asking the client, what are you willing to give up? Is the price big enough to know how serious this patient is in getting over the grief? If the patient is not willing to give up anything, the patient is just say, oh, I'll just come here and see what you can do for me. I'll tell them, no, it is not what I can do for you. It is what you are willing to do for yourself. I am just a tour guide. I can take you to all these places, but you must decide to see and experience those places. All right. So when we have got all these things, in summary, we will talk about, can the patient do this? Can the patient have the ability to do this? Does the patient want to do this? And does the patient choose to do this? I say, can you feel better about yourself? Can you let go of your child passing and live your own life? Can you do that? I'm not asking if you want to, but can you? And the patient said, yeah, I can do that. And ask them the next question. Since you know you can do that, do you want to do it? And when they say, yeah, I want to do it, I said, do you choose to do it? So if they have gone through these 3 processes and they understand these 3 processes, yes, that's it. Okay, a lot of times, this is also something that I see in patient, you know, sometimes what the parents want and what the child wants is very different. As doctors, as caregivers, I believe you will experience this. Parents want one thing, a child wants another thing, all right? So we have to ask ourselves this question. Are we pleasing the parents or are we helping the child? We are in pediatric palliative care. We know the outcome. Different people have false expectation on the outcome, but we do know. So we should ask the child. Should we ask the child or should we ask the parents? That's the question that, you know, we should look at. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, the next slide is the SCORE model. It's a very useful model that I use a lot in my work. So, okay, let's take a look at anger. Okay, about from my case study, the anger. The symptom is the anger. This is the present. The present now, she is feeling anger. Okay, but the anger is not now. If you give her medication for anger management, it doesn't solve the problem. Why? Because the problem doesn't happen now. The problem happened in the past. And what was the past? Was it the death of a child? Was it the guilt of not doing enough for the child? Was it because there was unfulfillment expectation for a child? And all this happened in the past. Like what we have said just now, we cannot change the past. Okay, but we can give a new meaning to the past. All right, and therefore we can work, once the past has been resolved, we can work on the symptom and we can work on the future. What is the outcome? What is the effect that the person wants? For example, the person says, I want to have a better relationship with my family. I say, okay, good. How much do you want it? And I'll ask them the next question. When you have a better relationship with your family, what is the effect that you will get from yourself and also for your family? All right, now, at the bottom, we will have the resources. What are the resources that would help this patient get all the treats? The medical resources, maybe the psychological resources, maybe resources from a family and friends. What are the resources? Get all these things ready, put this out so that the patient can see that they are not alone in dealing with this problem. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, so in summary, the methodology that we use is start with the outcome in mind. You reverse engineer. We ask the patient, what do you want? I want a better relationship with my family. Okay, good. That is the outcome that we want. Then you ask them the next question. What's stopping the healing process? What's stopping you? You want to heal, but what needs to happen so that you can go on this process of healing? All right. The next one, giving new meaning to the event. Your child didn't pass away. Your child has come here to convey a message to you, and now the message has been conveyed to you. It's time for your child to go. That's new meaning. All right. Well, you did your best for your child, and that's all that you can do. There's nothing else you can do at that particular moment. All right. This is a big thing. You know why? Because they say that, oh, I did not do enough. But at that past circumstances, they have done their best. They have given their all. Do you think they'll purposely do something less so that the child will pass? No, they have done their best. But at that time, technology was at that level. Their mental health was at that level. The things that they could do was at that level. All right. So the next one is during the state of hypnotherapy, in hypnosis, we ask them, imagine that your child is in front of you. What is your child telling you now? Okay, we let them have an internal dialogue. All right. And finally, we say, what is your final message to your child? Okay. So then we will tell them that, okay, some of the patients will tell me this, I do not want to let go, because if I let go, I will forget my child. I say, you don't have to let go. Just create a shrine in your mind. Just create a platform in your mind where you keep all the memories of the child. When they have established that, it'll be easier for them to just move on, because they know forgetting doesn't mean not remembering. Letting go simply means moving forward, but leaving behind the memories and the messages and the lessons. Okay, then the new purpose. The new purpose will no longer be, I'm a grieving mother, but I'm a mother with a mission to help others. When you have a new identity, you have a new mission, and you're doing this based on your new mission. If I say I'm a lousy mother, you live your life as a lousy mother. If you live your life as I'm a growing mother taking care of my child, then you will live as such. And after that, all this is done and well. The last step is very important. They must do something immediate. For her, she has a room for her child, and all the medication of her child are kept in that room. The child has passed on for months, and she doesn't dare to go into that room because she doesn't want to be haunted by the memory of a child in the final stages. Even her medication are not there. So I tell her, first thing you do, go home, go into the room. You can go in with your mother, you can go in with your husband, but clear up the room. It's time to move on. The room has to serve a new purpose. She went back, it took her 2 days. The third day, she texted me, she said she has cleared up the room. Something that she has not been able to do for the past few months. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. Okay, so yeah, I know I've been talking a lot, okay, because the human mind is a very interesting thing, and then there's a lot of variables in the thought process. Okay, so question, any questions? Yeah.
I think thank you, Brandon, for the I important the last slide, very very good guide for us, give us some idea. But when you talk about hypnotherapy and linguistic, we are not in that field. Maybe we are not so clear.
Okay.
But from you have shared with us that yeah, I like the kind of like talk about future, give a meaning, and move how to move them together to that direction, to a new purpose and new identity. Yeah. Any question from the participants? I think Dr. Chong Po Hing is here. Chong, you want to say any? You want to share anything?
Thanks, Brandon, for sharing with us a very relevant topic. And I like that you have situated this within a case. At the same time, also highlighted some of the very practical strategies that you have used in the past with your patients that have been really effective. The only comment that I have to make right now is really just about perhaps in my own experience, having worked in the field for so many years, it's that, you know, every process of grieving is different. It's different for every parent. It's different for every caregiver like myself that, you know, journeyed with the family. And I continue to go into these conversations without any preconceived ideas, not even a framework, because I like to think that I'm not quite like an expert like yourself. I just go in there with a curiosity of the mind, and I go in there with the openness of the heart, at the same time with a lot of love and compassion. And I think as some of the empirical work that, you know, came out from a lot of thanatologists have, you know, demonstrated, majority of our, you know, patients, or not patients, but rather in this particular instance, the parents of children who had died, right? They do grieve, for want of a better word, well, given some time. And I think our job here is to facilitate that process, to allow that sense making to happen. And the studies have shown that like up to more than 3/4 or 8, 9 out of 10 of these parents would actually come out of it with a very good sense of like meaning making. So I think what is important for us as practitioners is to know which is that 1 or 2 out of the 10 of them that we might need to send to, say, Brandon, for example, for a specialized kind of intervention. Do you have any comment on that, Brandon?
Okay, right. Very good point that has been brought up. Okay, so yeah, the question is, when do they need additional help? Because grieving, people would naturally go through the process and be recovered and well from it. But when does this, when it is actually affecting their health, when they would have other health issues, which is as a direct result of that, probably because of their grieving, they couldn't focus on their work, and their inability to focus on work is causing them to lose their job. That would be something that I think that, okay, they might need help. Or maybe also the destructive relationship with the family. That might be something that, would come, they would benefit from this. I have seen cases where parents actually go through divorce because the father is blaming the mother for, not taking care of the child. It is a genetic problem. It's a genetic problem. It's nothing to do with the mother. And I can't say whether it's the father or not. It's genetics. But the father is blaming the mother, as the mother is the cause of the death of the child. And I think that is reaching a very critical level. Yeah. So as long as it's affecting the health of the person, or it is giving destructions to the way of life, I think that will be time when they come for this process. But as doctors and caregivers, by understanding this simple methodology, I think you're on the first step to helping them gain recovery. Because a lot of times when they have gone through this process, they cannot see the future.
I agree with Brandon that a lot of time being a good companion, sitting beside them, being a good listener itself is very good enough for bring a therapy to them, but that is but a lot of time we do not have the time, and also we do not have the skill to give them the forward meaning in the future. And if a lot of time if don't find the kind of forward meaning, they'll continue moaning. Sometimes they might find their own meaning themselves. But if I was thinking, if we all can have the kind of bit of skill, like throwing the concept that you need to have the kind of the future meanings, then because you cannot just continue moaning and nowhere. So I found it, that's what the brand trying to tell us, that giving the new meaning and is very important. Yeah, if they're really lost, they have no meaning. We give them time. We do give them time. We do not have enough time also to have seen them very frequently. But must see some progress. But this one from my opinion.
Yeah,
if they're stuck there and they don't see progress after 3 months, 6 months, I won't want them to be continue being there. Maybe have to refer to someone can give them a bit more direction. There's a question here to ask from Nixon Tai. At this age, our parents may express grief differently on social media and while seeing us in person. When to draw the line between helping and protecting patient privacy? I'm not so clear about this question. Nixon, you want to clear it more? Yes.
I'm Nixon. I'm pediatrician from Kuching. Has special interest in palliative. Anyways, I asked this question because one of the patient that I had, a child with osteosarcoma, quite a sudden, quite a short stay with us. So what happened is that, of course, when we were there doing the counseling and talk to the mother, we couldn't tease much, probably number one, because the rapport is not there. So we couldn't tease much in terms of how she is taking the situation. But at the same time, the NGO did realize that in social media, she has been expressing grief differently. So the thing is that my question will be, at this age, when we counsel them, we won't be telling them, oh, on Facebook, you tell me this thing, and now you're telling me this thing. So sometimes at the back of our mind, we know that the patients are as such in the social media. But when we see them that time, when do we draw a line to actually know when to say, how much of social media that you follow these parents and all those things. So it is one of the examples that I have encountered.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. It's saying that, you believe that on social media there's somebody else, but when they see you, they are somebody else.
Yeah, in that sense.
Yes, okay. So where do you want to draw the line, whether you want to look at the social media or not?
Yes, correct.
Yes, okay. My personal opinion is that when I think what they post on social media is just a symptom. It's just what they want to, is what society wants to see from them. They are fulfilling society's anticipation. So when they see you face to face, I think that's the real them. That's when they are coming to you for help, for advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. All right. Sure. Thank you very much.
I think we only have a very limited time now. Brenda, you want to share your last slide? This one.
Okay.
Can the healing process start before death?
Okay. Yeah. Can it happen like that? I definitely think so, and I personally believe so. Okay. Let me share the case study. The next slide, please. The case study. This is the mother of a child who passed away due to inborn brain abnormality. The child was 5 years old when she passed on. Her condition was diagnosed in March 2020 and passed on in February 2021. So during that time, she's been in and hospital, and finally she passed on in the hospital. Okay, so her symptoms is anxiety, loss of direction, fear, and avoidance. She doesn't want to talk about her child's condition. All right. So in the beginning stages, she doesn't want to talk about that. So what we did is that we sit down with her and we analyze with her what's happening, what she understands and what she doesn't understand. So a lot of times it comes to the point where she is having fear because she doesn't really know what's happening. She doesn't have a clear picture. So, you know, then when she began to understand a little bit more and she knows what is the potential future, then she begins to calm down and then she can start to see and to plan. And during all this time, we are more focusing on her and not so much on the child, because our work here at that particular moment with this patient is with the parent, not the child. The child will be taken care of by the doctors. So we're telling that there is still you in the future. Okay, we are asking her to focus on what she wants to do, what she, you know, what she can do with all these things. So now she has passed on. In fact, she passed on about a week or so ago. Now we are still in contact with her, and she is doing pretty well. She can talk about her death of a child. She can joke about it. Okay, she said, yeah, sometimes she feels sad, but she remembers more of the child's happy times more than the sad times, and she's very open about talking about the child's passing on. So I think that would be playing a role, because the process of grieving is very, very short. And she doesn't display any of the chronic grief symptoms. So we will still continue to monitor this progress, because the death has happened just about a week or so more. All right. So yeah, that will be it for this case. Okay. Dr. Lee, your mic is muted.
Sorry, this one will be our last slide. Any question from the floor? I like this one. The Brendan had prepared. We cannot change the outcome, but we can affect the journey. If no question, I think I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everyone for joining this virtual learning. And please join us for our national conference. We will be in October 7 to 9. Hopefully our COVID pandemic will be over by the time, but we will have both a virtual and physical conference at the time. You can go into the website and have a look on this, nccpcm2020.com. And if you can continue posting your question, we can continue to answer. If not, then I'll throw this time back to Brendan. You have anything else to wrap up? Anything in summary?
No, I think it's fine. Yeah.
All right. Tanan, you have anything? You want
no.
to? Yeah. So thank you again for everyone for coming to join us. I hope you have some take-home message. This is not an easy topic for everyone, but we have been facing it every day. I hope Brendan has given us some idea, some direction of what we need to do. In the end, I will say that please join us again with our next virtual conference, virtual talks here will be on the 6th of April. Dr. Nobuyuki have agreed to talk to us about his experience of advanced care plan in his country. All right. Anyone want to say anything?
I think there is one question from.
Oh, really?
Yeah, from Maria. How to help parents who feel guilty due to could not fulfill the child's wish at 159.
How to help parents who feel guilty due to could not fulfill the child wish?
Oh, okay. Well, we need to let her understand that at that particular time, due to the resources that she has done her best already. Okay, and also to ask her that, you know, to let her understand that at that particular time, the best was actually given to her already, but maybe it is, I do not know if fate is a good word, but maybe the time for that child is there. So rather than dwelling on that part, okay, telling her that she has done her best, also focus on what is the lesson that she has, what is the lesson that the child has brought to her? What is the learning that she has gained from the child? Okay, that would be like focusing on the positive that the child has given her rather than focusing on the death of a child. So she is focusing on the last part of the child's life, whereas we are getting her to focus on the duration while the child is there. Okay, so that will give her a better memory.
I see.
Okay.
All right, are you okay with the suggestion? All right. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for
Thank you.
coming to us.
Thank you.
If no question, we'll call this off and see you again on the 6th of April. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for your time.